I'm going to spend the next few minutes just talking about some of the issues we're really wrestling with inside the international business of Federated Hermes as we figure out what we do next on climate change ahead of COP26. We've been reporting on our climate action now for many years. We actually, at the end of October, were delighted to receive an award from the French government for Best Asset Manager TCFD report. The judging team particularly liked the transparency of our reporting on how we use various proprietary and non-proprietary tools to look at climate risk, some of which Isabel has actually mentioned. So we too use the 2° investing factor tool and find it very useful. But disclosures are only the beginning really of the journey, as David Pitt-Watson said in his introductory remarks. And what we're wrestling with now is how do we make ourselves more accountable for actions and outcomes on climate change? And for us, that means particularly, what are we going to be doing to commit to net zero goals? When should we be trying to achieve that? And when should we be committing to becoming a Paris-aligned firm, whatever that means? That some of the issues that Isabel wrestled with, we're wrestling with too. So those are our two live discussions at the moment. And I want to just go into some detail on what we are doing to make those a reality and try to put some dates on them. So it wouldn't be a Federated Hermes discussion without touching on engagement. This is something our business is very well known for, as well as strong stewardship within our own assets. We steward on behalf of now over $1 trillion in global assets. Climate change is something that's been high on our agenda for many years. What we've been doing now is running a number of different climate risk assessment tools across all our proprietary portfolios, and have made a commitment where we identify any substantive transition risk. We've made a commitment to engage with 100% of those companies. While transition risk is one of the big sort of red flags for us, of course, we need to be considering physical risk as well. And we have developed and will be publishing a set of climate change expectations on those companies. So this is 6 key things we expect every company to be thinking about. And those include an expectation to disclose in line with the TCFD, to prioritize putting in place sufficient governance and operational capacity to move forward on climate risk management, to not be afraid and embrace the complexity of this issue, so using scenario analysis tools to look at different futures, to look beyond just operations and strategy to what's happening in supply chains, so taking this broader than just the immediate business, using their public policy influence positively, so acting to engage with governments on new market rules, not to block them. And then finally, we do need to see action, so commitment to science-based targets with interim targets along the way. And that's partnered with a dialogue document that anybody within the business can pick up and use to start a conversation with a firm, regardless of its jurisdiction or its sector, and regardless of whether they are far along on their journey on climate change or just beginning. So that's one of our new sort of strengthenings of action at the business. We're complementing that with a renewed focus on when it's appropriate to withdraw access to capital. So this is something both Isabel and David have touched upon. We have quite a sort of light exclusions policy at the business, but we've come to the conclusion that with the rapidly shrinking carbon budget, there are some activities now, excuse me, that really just can't be justified. And that includes things like burning thermal coal. It includes things like oil and tar sands. So these are activity-based exclusions that we will be introducing alongside a new category of controversial sector. So when a firm will be characterized as controversial is where they might be using fossil fuels, for example, but part of a process of transitioning to a cleaner business model. Under those circumstances, our portfolio managers will still be able to potentially invest, but they have to write a clear and public business case for that and undertake time-limited engagement with the company to ensure that the transition that we believe is possible does actually come to pass. So using potentially the threat of divestment to actually move those engagement discussions along. So that's new and beefed up for us. We're also looking at how we can move more of the assets we manage to an explicit Paris-aligned thematic strategy. Now that is absolutely going to be dependent on our clients, and so client engagement will be key to growing this market of products that just invest in things that are there or nearly there already. We tend to see much more interest in that currently in the wholesale market than the institutional market, but we believe that the client engagement of the sort that Isabel's been talking about in the banking sector will enable us to grow those assets over time. There are absolutely challenges in dealing with any and all of these issues. So one of them I'd say on the sort of engagement side is how do we keep firms honest, particularly as discussion about nature-based solutions and offsetting grows. There is a place for sure for offsetting, but actually we know now that what we need to see is urgent technology substitution where that is possible. And it is really incumbent upon us within the ERC engagement team and our analysts to understand where solutions being proposed by companies we invest in are enduring and long-term, or where they may just be short-term patches that really don't deal with the need to get emissions out of the system now. For ourselves, there are issues around setting targets. So one of the real challenges I think we face is, while we may have a desire to put in place very near-term Paris alignment and net zero targets, we've seen some of our clients come out with net zero targets of 2035, which is absolutely fantastic. If we move too far ahead of the market and our peers, we may find we're excluding vast portions of the investable universe, underperforming and losing those clients. Similarly, we may find if we wanted to retrospectively introduce Paris alignment targets to existing strategies, we'd need to get client permission for that. And not everybody might be at the same point in the journey we are. So lots of very practical considerations to be thinking about there. But similarly, I do believe technology is at a tipping point. We've seen some fantastic new commitments out of the UK just yesterday. With Biden in the White House, things are looking much more positive on the global climate policy stage, and that changes markets. So if we move too late, are we going to find ourselves on the wrong end of that tipping point? These are really, really difficult discussions and very much sort of leaps of faith into the unknown. But that said, I think COP26 brings with it focus and opportunity, and I'm sure we, like many other firms, are now just very actively considering what the next level of accountability and action is. We have found our membership at the Climate Financial Risk Forum, which is an industry forum convened by the Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority, has been really helpful for just creating a safe space for discussion on these issues and how do we move forward in the face of uncertainty. But I think it's clear we must. This year is going to be this next 12 months is the year that makes or break global commitment and action as we hit new global emission tipping points in 2030. Just around the corner. 10 years isn't that long. So hopefully it will focus minds, and hopefully you'll be hearing more from us at Federated Hermes on what those tangible commitments, targets will be. Thank you.